Next up, we have Brian Patchcoski, who is the director of the LGBTQA Resource Center here. Let's hear for Brian.
Thank you. The clicker. The clicker. Cool. Thank you. Good afternoon, State of State. How are you all doing? Okay, good. You're alive and well. That's exciting. So I'm really excited to be here today, and I was given the topic of stigma. Stigma is a huge topic to address, and so I'm going to take a bit of a different approach to stigma and how we embrace change. How do we look at cultural change on a campus community, and how do we do that from our own onus of control? And so, as I was introduced, I'm the director of the LGBTQA Student Resource Center on campus. So many times I joke I'm gay for pay. Good, you are with me. I get paid for talking about gay, and much broader than just gay, LGBTQ, IAA+++ stuff. But there's so much more. I also, I am gay. I'm white identified. I'm a cisgender man. I'm Christian identified, spiritual practicing. I'm also a father, a husband. I'm married. I'm a survivor of sexual violence. I'm a lover of rescue dogs, and so many other boxes. And that's just that. There's boxes. There's boxes we place on ourselves. There's boxes that others place on us, whether we want them to or not. Those boxes carry forth baggage. Baggage that is sometimes neatly stacked, as it is in this image. And sometimes our bags have our clothes hanging out, things that we've pulled from those bags at different points in our lives to lessen the load. Some of those bags are really heavy, and we can drag them along with us as we proceed throughout life. Some bags are pretty light. It's about power and control. That weight, the weight of that baggage that is in our lives, it's about the power and control that folks have on us, and we have on our boxes and all of those bags in our identities. And so when we think about this, and I think about stigma, it's about who's on the inside, who's on the outside. How are we bridging that? How are we bridging the inside and the outside? What does that mean for our students? Our students who are navigating various communities on campus and navigating the halls and walls of Penn State on a daily basis. If a student identifies as a queer, undocumented person of color and a survivor of sexual violence, where do they go? What direction can they choose? Where is their source of support? How can they engage? With all of that baggage in mind. If we think about higher education for a moment, many times higher education is constructed or has been constructed in silos. So that person, that student with all those identities, those bags, those boxes, do they go to the LGBTQ Center? Do they go to the Gender Equity Center? Do they go to the Paul Robeson Cultural Center, Educational Equity, a college diversity unit? Where do they go that they can bring every part of their whole selves? Thinking about that, I want to propose a new way of thinking about change, or at least a way of thinking about change that is culturally based, but is a human-based approach. It's about human work. When I started today, I joked about doing or being gay for pay, or being the LGBTQ director. If a student comes and sits in my office, many times I'm going to talk about doing human work, much more so than talking about LGBTQ work. I can't leave out those bags, those other boxes, those other things that a person is bringing into the center, regardless of what they're there to talk about. So let's think about cultural change for a moment. I want us to think about an image. I want us to think about this image of a waterfall. Waterfalls are beautiful entities. They're also powerful. Folks will navigate and go and spend time at these beautiful features in nature to reflect and to take in just nature's beauty. But we also know that these entities can be dangerous. We know if we get too close, there's a risk of falling over. If we think about ourselves as activists or allies to communities or advocates or cultural change agents, We're constantly worrying about someone drifting over. We're always in the reactive mode of work. We're there rescuing folks as they go over the falls, or we're rescuing them right before they might fall over that dangerous abyss. So what can we do about that? How can we move farther upstream? How can we move to a place of proactive work in this world of cultural change? We can put up signs. We do that well. We can put up signs about how we value diversity and inclusion and how no hate is welcome in a specific space. But that also limits us from true engagement. We can't see the beauty of that waterfall if we're always constantly staying behind that signage. We can go upstream. We can place a fallen tree across the upstream area where the water is not flowing as fast. So if someone is caught in that current, they might be able to grab on as a sense of safety. We can also construct land masses in those streams so that if someone is caught up in that flowing current, they might be able to grab on and wait to be rescued. We can build bridges. We can build bridges so that folks can stay and still take in the glory and the fast-paced of that fast-paced moving water and take in the full glory of nature. Or we can pull people before they reach the abyss of the waterfall. So what does all this mean? What does this mean for us? What does this mean as students navigating Penn State here and abroad and in world campus concepts? It's a both and. We need all of those individual silo-based, identity-based spaces, but we also need to think proactively. We need to go upstream. We're not thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion as diversity, equity, and inclusion. Right now, we're still in the mindset of diversity or equity or inclusion, or diversity and inclusion and leaving out equity. In order to do this, we need to take risks. We need to move away from other models. We need to be vulnerable. We need to be vulnerable in the sense that we need to take a hard look at ourselves and find out how we relate to others in both the Penn State community and all the other communities that we navigate. I returned to Penn State in July after about a 7-year hiatus at other institutions of higher education. Thinking about why I came back to Penn State and reflecting on this presentation, the reason I came back is because I believe in us. I believe in who we are as an institution. Penn State has had a rough few years, and for many of those years I wasn't present. If any institution of higher education, if any student community can set the bar higher around cultural change and challenge the stigma and challenge the challenges that are happening on campuses across the US and globally, I believe it's us. I believe Penn State has the opportunity to set that bar higher. It's the opportunity for us to redefine who we are, both as a community and in community. So what's my call to action for you? My call to action is to challenge us. Challenge our siloed structures around diversity and inclusion and community. Challenge us to think differently about how we engage the other, how we engage the collective whole of our Penn State community. Challenge us to think about how we can modify or challenge or change our paths so we're not changing the waterfall, but we're adding in different concepts of engagement. I want you to think about ways in your organizations and the things that you're part of that you can add in small, subtle changes without taking away the essence of that program, of that community, of that engagement. Don't change the waterfall. Go upstream and change the other ways that we engage that beautiful concept. And so for me, I'm excited about where Penn State is going. I look forward to engaging with all of you. And I think for us to think about cultural change will only empower us as a student community and transform our student community to be ever more inclusive. So thank you.